Share my screen. All right. Let me know if y'all can see everything. Can y'all see everything?
Not yet. Yeah.
Y'all see everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. This is the first document I want to show y'all, right? So this document shows that, watch this. Pfizer demands that nations put up collateral to cover vaccine injury lawsuits. Did y'all see that? This just came out March the 9th this year. Pfizer, the #1 vaccine company in America, and I'm getting ready to show y'all in a minute why they did that. It says Argentina and Brazil have rejected Pfizer's demand that they put up sovereign assets, including bank reserves, military bases, and embassy buildings as collateral for anticipated lawsuits over COVID vaccine injuries. I'll wait for y'all to gather your breath. So Argentina and Brazil said, we're not putting up no bank reserves, military bases, embassy buildings as collateral. Those were the only two nations I know of yet that has said we're not going to do it. All right. So in other words, they are already anticipating lawsuits connected to this vaccine. Let me say this. This is my opinion. I am not for people taking the vaccine, nor am I against it. Okay, that's my position. You do what you want to do. All right, but while you're praying, you need to be asking. I hear some background noise. Please mute your background. Please mute your. Somebody mute their background, please. All right. So
put up so much money in case people want.
Okay. So again, I'm not for or against. You do what you want to do. Okay. I just feel like at this point you need to be praying. Now it goes on to say, Pfizer is demanding countries put up again so much for this. Brazil and Argentina have rejected these demands. According to experts, it says Pfizer is abusing its power. In the United States, vaccine makers already enjoy full indemnity against injuries occurring from the COVID-19 vaccine under the PrEP Act. Did y'all know about the PrEP Act? The PrEP Act in America is if you're injured, you have to file a compensation claim with the Countermeasures Injury Compensation Program, which is funded by taxpayers. Now, here's the kicker on the capital limitations. Even if you can prove that you were affected by this vaccine, of course, you're going to have a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. Watch this. The maximum amount of payout, even in the cause of permanent disability or death, the maximum payout is $250,000 per person. And you first have to exhaust your private insurance policy before this kicks in. I hope y'all understood what that said. In other words, if you even get awarded the $250,000, they expecting your insurance company to pay you off first so that you don't have to file this. And if you have to file this, you're going to have an attorney. After the attorney gets his part and all the other stuff is paid, you're probably going to end up with maybe $10,000. That's the bottom line of this. All right. Any questions so far? Oh my God. So this article goes on to say a little bit more. I'll probably link this article in the description box below so that you can go ahead on and read through this your own. It is just absolutely phenomenal. It goes on to say companies have no right to ask for indemnity for these things. That's what the fight is and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought this article was absolutely amazing. All right. Again, they say again that the maximum amount that you would receive is $250,000. And you have to exhaust your private insurance policy before this program gives you a dime. So for a permanent disability, even $250,000, that's not going nowhere. All right. And watch this. The CICP also has a 1-year statute of limitation. So you got to file quickly. So you got to find an attorney that will even take this case. So the attorney already knows what this case is valued at. I'm just going to put that out there. All right. All right. So let's go on. I'm going to link this this article so you guys can have it yourself, so you can have a little bit more time to read through it. I want to get to the next thing I came across. All right. So if you want to know what real-time data is for the vaccine or what people are dealing with, you got to go to this website right here. All right. And this website right here, DHHS Gov, gives you real-time data that the CDC has to go and report their findings to. So you just go to this website in particular and you sign the disclosure and you want to search the CDC Wonder, and it'll take you to this page right here. Now, when you go to this page right here, let me see. Do I want to go back? Let me take you back. Yeah. So when you sign the disclosure, it'll tell you all that stuff. What you want to do is you want to go right here to number 1. And you want to click these because the drop down buttons have a whole lot of stuff. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to put symptoms in the first one, vaccine type, vaccine manufacturer, event category, and you can put it in by age. Okay. You can put it in by age, sex. It doesn't matter. You can just put it in by anything. All right. And so what you want to do is when you select symptoms at the top, you'll see all symptoms is right there checked for you. All right. And so you want to leave everything the same until you get down here where it says COVID-19. You want the COVID-19 vaccine information. And what you see is it ends up in this box right here. All right. And so all of this is going to be the same, whether it's 1 dose, 2 dose. Now watch this. And in case y'all didn't realize it, we got a lot of manufacturers that's getting ready to come out with a vaccine. I was actually told, I'm going to show it to you in another video, it's over 700 and some other manufacturers that's getting ready to come out with these vaccines. Okay. So now you want to leave everything the same. You want to get information in all categories and everything. So you want to get down here to the date. You want to make sure in number 7, category number 8, category, it says you want to select January 2021. Because I'm going to just give it to y'all in the last month to February 2021. You can play around with this. You can go all the way out to March. Let's take it out to March 2021. No, let's do February. Let's leave it at February. So you want to make sure number 7, number 8, number 9, and number 10, number 11 all says the same thing. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to hit send. Now, if I have everything correct, it'll pick up the data. If you don't have everything right, it'll give you a little red mark right here to tell you that you need to fix some stuff, and so you can get the data. Now, watch this data. Okay, watch this data, y'all. Okay, so here's the data. Now, okay, so if we look at this data, we can see that based on the last screen that we dealt with, you want to pay attention to this category right here called symptoms. Of course, we know we're looking at the vaccine type is the COVID-19 vaccine. So we look at the manufacturer. It automatically pulled up Moderna and Pfizer. And I don't think Johnson & Johnson is in there yet because they just rolled that one out. So then you want to look at the event type. Now, age, it just automatically started at 60 and it just goes on out. Okay. So what you want to concentrate on, and this is the events reported. Okay. So like I said, this is what the CDC has to use to put the real-time data in as to what the vaccine people are reporting that the vaccine did. So if you've ever had any adverse reactions to this vaccine, this is where you go, or either your doctor goes to report your findings. Okay. So like I said, if you've ever had anything, going on with you, this is where you want to go and report your findings. Okay. So now let's look at this, because this is not widely known. Why it's not widely known? It's totally amazing to me when we already know right here that Pfizer demands that nations put up collateral to cover vaccine injury lawsuits. So they already know, based on what we get ready to look at, that there's going to be some lawsuits. But again, the lawsuit cap is $250,000 per person. But you have to exhaust all of your insurance first before this would kick in. Now, remember, you're going to have an attorney if you decide to fight your case, because to prove that this vaccine damaged your body is going to be a milestone. If in the event that you do prove it, or your attorney does prove it, you're only going to end up with maybe like 10, 15,000 out of that. And you have a permanent or a possibly death outcome from the vaccine. I heard a question come up.
Can you send this link to Pastor Kevin?
No, what I'm going to do is I'm recording this right now. When it's done, I'm going to edit it and I'm going to put it on YouTube.
All right.
So he can go there and look at it. All right. So again, here we go back to the CDC. That's why that's why you got to hang out with us. You know what I'm saying? Because if you hang out with us, you get the stuff before everybody else get it. All right. Because I don't know when I'm going to put it out there. All right. So here we go. So now let's look at these. Sister Williams, if you want to send him the link that's in the chat now, he can click on this while we're doing it.
All right.
All right. So you can text it to his phone and he can click on now.
All right.
All right. Any other questions, y'all, before I start going? Because I'm getting ready to blow y'all wig off your head. I'm trying to tell you. Let's look at this. Now, look at the symptoms on the left right here. Abdominal discomfort. Y'all see that? So abdominal discomfort is a symptom of this vaccine. And they've even reported death just from abdominal discomfort. All right. Just that alone has killed people from this vaccine. Death. The event was death. You don't see any hospitalizations in this particular one. Now, when we go on down here to some more, you see people have went to the hospital and had death from this abdominal distension from the Moderna vaccine. Okay, so we've had death and emergency room visits from abdominal distension. That's amazing. All right, so let's keep going down. We done had a lot of this stuff. All right, so let's look at this. Y'all can see the percentages in this category right here. You can also see the number that was reported and all that kind of stuff. Now, what they're going to say is, sure, you've had people that got sick and people that passed away, but they're looking at how many people did not get sick versus those that did get sick. So if 1 million people took the vaccine and they didn't get sick and they didn't have any of this stuff, and we developing hereditary immunity versus maybe 500-600 of them got sick, then they're weighing that to be a vaccine that is beneficial to the people. But like I'm saying, if you don't take it or whatever, here's where you need to be. What the world? Here's where you need to be very careful at, because you could be having symptoms that's coming from the vaccine and you don't know that it's symptoms coming from the vaccine. All right. So then let's look. You got abdominal injury. You had people that died from that. All right. Let's keep going. I ain't even halfway. I'm just through the AIDS. Abdominal pain. Look at the death, hospitalization, emergency room visits. Listen, y'all, I'm just at the age of 50 on out. That's amazing. You can go back and play with the age all you want to, but this thing lists the age. So, you know, this is the age that was targeted, 65 and older first with the vaccine. All right. So let's go on down. Abdominal pain. Wow. You had 6 people that died from the abdominal pain from the Pfizer vaccine. There it is right there. All right. So you had at least 3 that was reported that had to go to the hospital. Emergency room visit. So, you know, within this alone, with just this vaccine, you had a total of 10, or a total of 24 people that had an adverse reaction. So now you got lower pain in the abdomen, upper pain in the abdomen. We've had the abdominal wall. Something happened to somebody, abdominal walls. You had people that had abdominal wall hemorrhage. It's crazy. Wow. From a vaccine. I don't know what all this stuff is. People that had to have x-rays and had life-threatening x-rays had to be performed. Wow. Abnormal behavior. Did anybody ever talk about the abnormal behavior? Did y'all hear about that on the news? I didn't hear about it. What kind of abnormal behavior? That's kind of scary. Oh, I'm sorry. I went back too far. I'm sorry, y'all. I went too far. Let me go back there. My computer is just, this mouse be tripping sometimes, y'all. You know, y'all saying she flying through that stuff. Abnormal behavior again. Okay. So we have absence of immediate treatment response. I don't know what that is, but people had reactions for that. Acidosis. So I guess people's stomach was upset behind this stuff. A lot of people had upset stomachs. I don't know what all that stuff is. If you any nurses on here, y'all can just let me know what all this stuff means. I don't know what all this stuff means. Acute coronary syndrome. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's the heart or the eye. I believe that's coronary syndrome. I believe that's something that happened with the heart. Hepatitis failure. I guess that's what that means. I don't know. Acute kidney injury. Look at that. Look, people had reactions to their kidney, which is why we're gonna find back pain was one of the symptoms, because it was affecting their kidneys. All right. People had acute melodon or whatever that is, myelodon, leukemia. This thing, what? Leukemia? This thing spiked leukemia in people? Wow. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. It's a lot of deaths reported with this stuff. Wow. Acute respiratory distress syndrome. People had a lot of problems breathing. Wow. Now they're saying a report just came out that we don't surpass 10,000 COVID-19 deaths and 1,100 new cases reported where I am. That just came across the news. Oh, wow. I wonder why we ain't hearing about all these deaths. We're hearing about it now because people know about this website. All right. We had a lot of deaths in all these different categories. Wow. Respiratory failure. Now people went from syndrome to failure. Wow. All the lungs just stopped working. Wow. That's a high number of failure. Wow. Look at this. Wow. This is the Moderna category, and this is the Pfizer category. Wow. There goes some more. I don't know what that is. Adjusted calcium. It started affecting people's calcium levels. Wow. Wow, this is amazing. I don't know what all this stuff is. Started affecting people's some other rhythm in the body. I don't know what all that is. Wow. And we just in the age, y'all. People had airway secretion, had to have airway secretion clearance therapy. That's a lot. I don't even know what that is. But they had the most reaction for that was in the Pfizer vaccine. And then we're going to watch a video in a minute that's going to show you why that vaccine had to be stored at such low levels. Jeez. Wow. Let's keep going on through here. Look at all these categories. I wonder why nobody ain't saying nothing about this. Something happened in the bottom of the stomach. Wow. Something happened, somebody's anal incontinence. I guess there was, somebody had problems with holding their bowels and stuff like that. Wow. Lord have mercy. Anaphylactic shock. Wow. People started having aneurysms with this stuff. Wow. Anxiety. Look at all that. Not that yet. Now, you know, a panic attack is not an anxiety attack. Those two are very different. Okay. So listen, that's a lot. Wow. Anaphylactic, we know about that. That's why they was telling people to have those whatever those shots was when people get stung by bees. You know, they tell you to keep those nearby. I forgot what the name of that is. Some other attacks. Appetite disorder. Wow. All right, going down. Lord, we just in the A's. How come we ain't hearing about none of these, all of these symptoms and side effects from this stuff? Why are we not hearing about that? Aspiration. Jeez. Lord have mercy. Atrial fibrillation. Yeah, folks dying from that stuff. Wow. It looked like the vaccine was just as bad as the virus. Good Lord. Just keep on going through here. Had to do autopsies on folks. Wow, look at all the autopsies. My goodness. People start having exterior pain. That means pains in the limbs. Wow. Arms and legs and fingers and toes. See, back pain. There it is right there. That contributed to that kidney failure. Dang, gone. Lord have mercy. And these are just, you know, this is just from February. We into a March. We don't know what these numbers are now because I didn't put it in for March. I just literally put it in for 1 month up to today. People had bacterial negative testing. Look at that stuff. My God from heaven. People were tested positive for bacteria after this. Yeah, they better have they definitely gonna need some collateral lawsuits to cover some of these lawsuits. Now you see why they had that fund in place, because a lot of people are going to try to connect their symptoms and illnesses back to this vaccine, and the government and United States and already covered themselves. Wow. Bedridden. Look at the folk that were bedridden. Wow. That's amazing. Bi-level positive airway pressure. Lord have mercy. Somebody got something in their background sound like a TV. People had to have a biopsy, bone marrow. Look at that. Skin biopsy came out abnormal. What? Bladder stage cancer. What? Stage 4 cancer. What? Yo. Oh my goodness, have mercy.
But this is the percentage rate on the side over here, all the way at the end.
And this category tells you how many people
done did. Okay. Well, one is too many.
It is. Well, you guys ought to understand. I'm gonna show you in the next video why it's like that. Look at the people who had blisters. Now, this is just 1 month of reporting. I don't know if the people reported themselves or the doctors reported it, but this is where all reports go about any vaccine. I just pulled up COVID-19.
But I'm looking at the ages,
Yeah.
look like only the older people are reporting this stuff.
Because those were the ones that took that vaccine first. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, now I see it's going to the 30s. That's just one.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And we just in the bees, y'all. What I'm concerned about is blood, somebody's blood, something alkaline, something increased. Look at all that. I'm just concerned why we are not hearing about all of the side effects yet. I mean, just to know what's in the vaccine is amazing, but why we're not told about all of these symptoms that people are reporting?
I thought when you said that, when you go to the drugstore to get your medicine, they give you a printout of what this medicine, what can happen to you from this medicine.
Uh-huh.
They don't even get nobody a paper like that when they give you the shot. I ain't never seen nothing like this.
Yeah, this is amazing. It started affecting folks' blood chlorine decreasing. Look at all of that. Somebody said that's why they waiting on theirs and observing. I know that's right. I'm telling you, I'm not for or against, and I'm not telling y'all what to do, what not to do. All I'm telling you is just be on the lookout for some things. You know what I'm saying? Be mindful of some things. Wow. Blood cholesterol. People in cholesterol increase behind some of this.
I don't need that.
People blood creatine, became abnormal.
What about the blood sugar?
I think that's creatine, isn't it? I'm not sure. Let's go look and see. I know y'all saying I'm going through this. Blood cultures. People had to have blood cultures. Wow. Blood cultures. Look at all the people that was hospitalized, emergency room, office visits. People went to the office to their doctor, emergency room visits, hospitalization, life-threatening issues. Wow, death. Like, this is serious. Blood cultures became positive. That's why, we could see people had leukemia, developed leukemia, some of them. Blood gases, had to have blood gases taken. Wow. Yeah. He said, be a watcher, sister. We found out the plot against us. All right, brother. Yes, sir. All right. Blood gases was abnormal. Wow. Look at this. Hey, y'all. Blood glucose. Here we go.
That's diabetes, yeah.
Yep. The blood glucose started decreasing.
Wow. Oh, okay.
That means their blood sugar started dropping. Look at all of that.
Right.
Then look at all the people that had the increase. Blood sugar shot up.
Yeah, but if that stuff dropped too low, you're going to a coma, just like if it's too high.
Oh, have mercy.
Boy.
Boy, it shot them blood sugars through the roof. Wow. Just need to be mindful, need to be prayerful, and watch for anything changing in the body. Y'all, I'm just through. Blood magnesium increased. Wow. Sodium intake. This is amazing. Blood potassium started being affected. Decreased. For some folks, it increased. I just want to know. Here we go. Blood sugar, blood pressure. People had abnormal blood pressures. Abnormal. Then some of them just decreased. Wow. Some people's fluctuated. It tripped me out because some people's blood pressure, you got some people from the Pfizer vaccine, you had folks that died from blood pressure decreasing. Wow. Increasing. Wow. Yeah, that's someone you can't stabilize that blood pressure. Let me get down here to the C's. Okay, people had problems with their blood temperature being regulated, body temperature being regulated. I guess that came from them chills, I guess. Wow. Bordetella negative. Bordetella, ain't that for the dogs? Yeah, I guess people were saying that they were trying to vaccinate these dogs with this stuff. Been working on that for a while. It's gonna show us that in one of the other videos. Brain death. So that vaccine was affecting a lot of people's brain. Oh, look at all the stuff that went on with the brain. Jeez. People started having brain stem hemorrhages. Wow. Breathing sounds became abnormal. Wow. Started having problems with their chest. That's where the bronchial tubes are. Carbon dioxide. When I started looking at some of this stuff, I'll leave this out there so y'all can go into it. When I got down to the S's, where they had a lot of coughing, we knew that. They had a lot of pneumonia. People developed pneumonia with that stuff. But let me tell y'all, with decreased appetite, diarrhea, all that kind of stuff, ear problems. Let me tell y'all what tripped me out. When I got down, people was falling. People was doing a lot of falling with that vaccine. Wow, look at all the people that were falling. Great, God Almighty. Look at all that. People was fatigued. Like, y'all know that's one of the biggest symptoms, fatigue.
That was when you got the virus, but this is after you get the shot.
Yeah, this is from the shot. Feeding disorders. Wow. Let me tell you, feeling abnormal. A lot of people say they felt abnormal. People say they was feeling cold, feeling hot, which they knew of. They were reporting that. But let me tell y'all what tripped me out. Let me show you. Fluid retention. People was retaining fluid in their body. Foaming at the mouth. That tripped me out right there. One person was that from the Pfizer, food allergies. Let me get down here, y'all, because I don't want to hold y'all up too long. Child, this is so long. Heart, headaches, hypertension, insomnia. People was reporting insomnia, intestinal dilation, jaundice, lethargic, limb problems, listlessness. Hold on, let me get y'all down here where I was tripping out at. Some people went into shock. I think it is. This is what I was tripping out of. A lot of people had seizures. Screaming. People was reporting screaming. What? I was like, hold on.
In the world.
Wait a minute. What? Screaming? No. I don't know. People was having tremors. Oh my God. Listen here. I guess that's the abnormal behavior. I don't know. I was like, whoa, screaming. Oh my God. Yes, screaming. I don't need that. I talk loud enough. All right. So listen, y'all. I showed you how to get back to this. If you want to get in there and play around with it yourself, you just go to this website right here, and you just hit this right here where you hit you want to search and get the information, and then you go to this website. It'll take you to this website right here, and then you just put in what you want to look for. You can go down to any type of vaccine that you want to know about. Like, we just chose COVID. You can go down here and choose any type of vaccine. Yellow fever, They got zoster, which they say was shingles. So, you know, if you want to look at the flu vaccine, like whatever you want to put in, you can like put it in, and you put it in from the type. Okay. So that's what you do. All right. So now let me show y'all this other one right here. And this other one is the people have been championing that Israel is really like on the front lines of making sure people are vaccinated. Like Israel, almost they're saying almost everybody is vaccinated. But let me show you what this lady from Israel is actually crying about right now. I don't think I'm gonna play all of this video.
It's called the Green Passport. We're not told to wear it. But what they have done is they have essentially overnight created a second-class citizenry, a true medical apartheid that is disallowing healthy, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens from entering their places of culture if they do not participate in this experiment. It's that simple. You literally, we've been told there are people who have been kicked out of their choirs, out of their pools, out of their gyms. I don't know who's going to hear the message we're saying. I don't know what is going to become of it. I know that there is no other option than to give every fiber of energy and strength into battling this because there is no other option. There is everything to lose and everything to gain. I think it's actually never been simpler in some ways. And I believe that it's, I believe quite simply that we are privileged to have this truth. There is truth that I think is a common denominator against all these different people, different countries, different languages, and we all are seeing and speaking a very clear truth. And I think that truth is an absolute gift, but it's an obligation. And it wasn't given to us to just sit at home and with this apathy and hope for the best. We've got to all come together because really this is how we win. Making these connections between us, country after country, that is the only thing that these governments fear. They have the wealth of empires behind them. But when the people realize that we are the many and they are the small, they have nothing. They have nothing. And I can never give up on that hope that we're gonna build this force and take our lives back, because I've said before, I feel like the ball is in the air.
All right. So I'm going to link that video down in, I'm going to link that video down in the description box when I upload this on YouTube as well, so you can see that. But I want to get to this other video because I think this other video really like hones in on it. I don't know if I'm going to watch all of it, but I think we need to watch this. This was on Daystar. This is this other doctor who has a different spin on this vaccine than anybody I pretty much have heard. It's on Daystar. I don't watch that, but anyway, I thought that was very, very interesting. And like, you got to compare what she's saying, because a lot of people are watching this video that Tyler Perry put out, and he's speaking to a doctor, two doctors. One is Spanish, I believe, and the other one's African-American. So I think looking at all of them, plus these 4 doctors that are African-American who are pioneers for the COVID vaccine. And that article and that video is going around on Facebook now. So I'm just helping us get a whole consensus of balanced information. You make your informed decision.
Thank you so much for watching. What a great message
from Pastor Maya. So thank you for being with us today. And we're going to segue over into something that many of you are interested in. And if you watch, I have the whole family here because they're all interested in this as well. So welcome.
It's too low.
As we talk
you have to turn yours up because I can't turn it up anymore.
Dr. Tenpenny, are you there? I am. Hello. Hey, thanks for being here today on Daystar. I've watched many of your videos, and many of our viewers have sent your videos to me, and they have said, Joni, you want to have Dr. Tenpenny on. And one of the people that has mentioned about Dr. Tenpenny is your mother. Jonathan. Catherine Wise has watched a lot of her videos. But if you would, for our audience today, Daystar goes
It's too low. We can't hear it.
around the world and all over America. Would you just give us a brief overview, if you will, of who you are and a little bit about your qualifications to talk about COVID-19?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for being here. It's just a God joy to me to be here. It really is. So my background is in my first career, I say, was in emergency medicine. I was board certified in emergency medicine and the director of the Level 2 Trauma Center for almost 12 years. I moved to Cleveland in 1996 to open my integrative practice. I went to the National Vaccine Information Center meeting in Washington, D.C. in September of 2000. It was a flyer that came in the mail, sat on my kitchen counter for weeks, and it just seemed like I couldn't quite throw it away. So I was single at the time, and I said, well, there must be somebody there I'm supposed to meet. Well, as it turned out, it wasn't somebody, it was something. And I went down and I attended 4 days of that meeting, and I came home and said, how in the world did I miss this? I grew up in a chiropractic family. My grandfather, my father, 3 uncles and 2 cousins were chiropractors. That's the reason I wanted to become an osteopathic physician, was because I wanted to have that in my musculoskeletal medicine in my armamentarium. And after I came back from that meeting, I said, I should probably look into this. Well, I started with the CDC documents, the general recommendation of vaccination, which was the 1998 version. They come out with one of those every couple of years. And after I read it, I said, this can't possibly be it. This can't possibly be what this whole industry is built on. Maybe I ought to read a little more. And so that reading a little more has turned into more than 20 years. Actually, I'm going on 21 years. And well beyond 40,000 hours worth of personal research that I've done investigating problems associated with vaccines. You know, as a physician, we're taught that vaccines are safe, they're effective, they keep you from getting sick, they're harmless, and they're absolutely necessary. And after 20 years of study and more than 40,000 hours of research, I can honestly say that none of those premises are true.
So, Dr. Tim Penny, we've done, of course, shows with Robert Kennedy Jr., with Dale Bigtree, and other significant doctors that have talked about some of the information we need to know to be informed about vaccines. I wanted you to specifically address the COVID-19 vaccine and maybe talk a little bit about the mRNA, because a lot of people don't realize that the 2 vaccines that they're using are experimental and that they have the mRNA. Also, I'd like for you to touch on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as well. And again, we're not telling people what they are to do. They have to do what they feel they need to do. And so we're trying to bring information. We're trying to bring truth. My only wish here is to help people, just as I know that you're feeling as well. I'm not paying you.
You're not paying me. There's no pharmaceutical backing us. We're simply sharing the truth, especially with our audience.
I'm sorry, I heard some people saying that it's too low. I can't turn it up any louder.
Oh, it's louder now.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Who many are Christians as well as you are.
Yes, well, it's a really important topic because it's on the head of everybody's mind these days. And all 3 of the shots are very important to talk about, and 2 of them are similar and 1 is very different. So the messenger RNA vaccine, or messenger RNA shot, is the one that's involved with the Pfizer shot and the Moderna shot. And both of them come to the market in about the same time, and they inject a small little piece of genetic material. Now, keep in mind that this type of injection has never been done before, ever. This is they've been trying to develop a coronavirus vaccine as far back as 2002, and they were never able to bring it to market because they could not prove safety. When they would inject the coronavirus experimental vaccines into animals, they would get re-exposed with the coronavirus, and they would come either deathly sick or die. So the FDA said, you can't move this forward. And the articles talk about the fact the researchers said that we must proceed with great caution to move forward to develop a coronavirus vaccine in humans because of a process called antibody-dependent enhancement, which we can talk about in a minute.
But this is an experimental vaccine. When you think about vaccines, you know, most people have had their children vaccinated. They probably were vaccinated as a kid. I mean, up through 1985, there were only 3 different shots. Between 1991 is when they started ramping up the schedule to where now children get multiple doses of 16 or 17 different shots between birth and 18 years of age. They started ramping up the adult vaccination schedule in 2015. And so everybody is very familiar with the term vaccine. And I think that everybody thinks that vaccine are uniform and they're all the same, and that you just inject a little piece of viral material and a little piece of bacteria into the body, you develop an antibody and you're protected. Well, it's much more complex than that. And all of those previous shots injected particles of bacteria or whole intact viruses. So the immune response was completely different. In these 2 vaccines, the Pfizer shot and the Moderna shot, they take a little piece of genetic material that's called messenger RNA, and it's encoded, meaning it's got a recipe written on it for a specific type of protein. So if you can keep that in mind, that with messenger RNA, it's literally a messenger. It takes a message from your cellular DNA out into your cells with a recipe, that it takes the recipe to the manufacturing process. And that manufacturing process is called the ribosomes. Think of the ribosomes as an assembly line. So they take the recipe, they do from your DNA, the messenger RNA goes out into the cell, delivers the recipe to the ribosomes. The ribosomes then process the recipe and make a protein. That happens all day long, 24/7 in our bodies. It's a normal process that happens inside of us. It helps us with repair, like if you've had surgery or an injury or any of those things. It's all of those repair things. Well, what these 2 injections have done is they've taken a piece of a messenger RNA that has a recipe written on it designed in a lab. And that recipe is to go and make, through the manufacturing process, a protein called the spike protein. Those messenger RNA little particles are extremely unstable. And in order to take them from the laboratory and get them into your body, they have to be wrapped around in a bubble of lipid coating. So they put it in a bubble, like a basketball. They put it in a lipid coating that has several different types of lipids on it that have never been injected into human beings before. So we've never used this lipid interface in any of the previous vaccines. We don't know if all 3 of those, if one of them are toxic. We don't know what happens when all 3 of them are together. There's been nothing called synergistic toxicity testing. They wrap around that messenger RNA with the recipe to keep it stable. And in the Pfizer shot, it has to be stored at like minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 60 degrees centigrade. So it's colder than the North Pole to keep it stable in order to get it from the lab into the solution to then be injected into your arm. So that lipid coating has one of its chemicals on the outside, like a shellac. On the outside of that lipid coating is something called polyethylene glycol. Polyethylene glycol is known to cause big allergic reactions. And in my opinion, I believe that's what's responsible for a lot of people having the allergic reactions and going into anaphylactic shock, which we've had hundreds of cases of that. So when they inject that messenger RNA with the recipe coated in the lipids with the shellac around the outside of it into your body, that lipid protein binds with your cells and opens up, think about it like cracking open like an egg and depositing that messenger RNA with the recipe inside of your cells. That recipe then is run through the ribosomes. Think of that as the factory to make the protein. That protein is called the spike protein. That protein is supposed to be similar to the spike protein on the surface of the coronavirus that's causing infection. The idea behind this process is that if we create this protein and then we create an antibody to that protein, we can take that antibody and the next time the coronavirus is floating around, we'll glob onto its spike protein and neutralize it. In theory, that's what's supposed to happen. But instead, what happens is once we've gone through that manufacturing and we've created that spike protein, there's a lot of different things that can happen with it. For one thing, it can irrevocably bind to the surface of your cells. The other thing that protein can do is, but through a process called transfection, can go backwards. The protein then can bind to your DNA and irreversibly change it. The third thing that spike protein can do once we've manufactured it is, yes, we can make antibodies to that spike protein. The problem is there's a real issue with the antibodies that are created through this process. Under normal vaccination, like for, say, flu shots or the measles or shingles or the chickenpox, we make a particular type of antibody that's called a neutralizing antibody. When that binds to those recurrent viruses, it gobbles them up, brings in your white blood cells, and disposes of it. We don't even know that happens. It happens all day long in our immune system. But the anti-spike antibodies, I've mapped out about 10 different mechanisms of injury that anti-spike antibody can cause inside of your body once it's been created by that process, that manufacturing process I just described. That anti-spike antibody that's supposed to be there to keep you from getting sick, actually, if you produce it in very high quantities, can have direct adverse effects on your tissues, primarily your lungs, but also to the liver, to the kidney, and to your heart. And there's multiple other mechanisms of how that anti-spike antibody can cause harm. So when people think about, well, you know, they say coronavirus, all that circulating coronaviruses out there that we've known have been around for, you know, since about 2000, for 60 years, they've been able to document coronaviruses. On an annual, normal basis, coronaviruses cause something that looks like the flu. So a lot, and we've heard that a lot. We've heard about coronavirus illness and coronavirus, you know, causes kind of like a cold. So if I get this shot, it's just like getting a flu shot, and it'll keep me from getting sick like the flu shot's supposed to do. But the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer shot, the Moderna shot and the Pfizer shot, they act by a completely different mechanism. So this is not just another flu shot. It's not FDA approved because remember, they've tried to been doing this for almost 20 years. They couldn't get it past safety studies and efficacy studies, meaning it keeps people from getting sick. It's completely experimental. They've never done this before. It was put into the market by something called an EUA, which is Emergency Utilization Authorization. So under the stated emergency of the pandemic, the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and there are 77 more of these shots, 77 more of these vaccinations under current development. And there's 78 more in animal studies. It's beyond me why we need 150 of these. But it's not been FDA approved. It's totally experimental. It's authorized only under experimental emergency use. We have zero long-term studies on what's going to happen down the road with this anti-spike antibody, what can happen with autoimmune diseases, with neurological conditions, with cardiovascular type of conditions. In fact, humanity right now, as we speak, we are the experiment. They will find out long-term what's happened to us, and we're their study.
Wow. Dr. Sherry, thank you so much for sharing all of that information. I'm curious, can you tell us about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and how that one is different as well?
It's very different because it bypasses that manufacturing process and the recipe, the manufacturing and the creating of the protein. What they've actually done with the J&J shot is they've actually taken an adenovirus, a typical adenovirus that causes the cold, and they've shelled it out. They've taken the genetic material of that adenovirus out from the inside, and they've taken an already been made spike protein and put it inside of the adenovirus shell. In order to grow that and replicate it, to make it grow, they are using at least one and maybe two different types of tissue cells that come from aborted fetal tissue. One is called PCR.C6, which comes from retinal tissues of previously aborted fetal tissues. And there's another one called HEK that comes from a kidney of a previously aborted fetus. They have to have viruses in order to get a large enough quantity to manufacture a shot or a vaccine. They have to replicate in living tissues. That's why those tissues are used. So you've got this shell of an adenovirus and you've got the protein inside of it. They inject that into your system. The shell of the adenovirus binds to your cells and again, opens up like an egg and deposits that protein into your system, and the process begins to create the anti-spike antibodies. That's a foreign protein that's just been deposited into your body. It activates many of your toll-like receptors, which I think are God inside of us. The toll-like receptors separate self from non-self, and toll-like receptors are able to tell what's a foreign protein versus your natural in your body protein. There's a huge amount of immunology that happens there. You get a lot of cytokines, which can cause inflammation. You activate the white blood cells, the neutrophils in the bloodstream, and the macrophages in your tissue. There's all this activity that happens, an acute flare-up to create this anti-spike antibody. Now, the anti-spike antibody is going to be the same or very, very similar in all three of those vaccines because that's the end result, is to make the anti-spike antibody.
Okay, so I know that the CDC, and they have actually given these numbers that as of a few days ago, there were 996 deaths from the COVID-19.
Oops.
I got some, it's actually more than that.
Okay.
That was from about 4 weeks ago. The updated date that came from February the 28th, in 1 week, we went from 1,097 reported deaths to 1,278 reported deaths. In 1 week, we went from just under 19,000 reported adverse events to over 25,000 reported events. That's the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, which is a voluntary reporting system, and it's well known that that database captures about 10% of adverse events. So we could be looking at right now as many as 12,000 deaths. And can you think of one single product? Can you think of any product in any industry, across the board, any industry, that if somewhere between 1,200 and 12,000 people had been killed using it in the first 10 weeks of use, that it would still be on the market? And not only still on the market, but heavy-handedly pushed to get people to use it or to take it. It's just an enigma to me.
And the real question is, like you mentioned, 6 months from now, a year from now, that's when we're really going to see what these vaccines have done to people. And you expect what, autoimmune disorders, heart, kidney, lung issues. Do you see that happening?
All of them. There was a study that came out the middle of January by a very well-respected, highly respected immunology group in California. And what they did was they said, when we create this anti-spike antibody, does it just go after the virus, the one that you might be re-exposed to, or maybe one of the coronaviruses? Or can it cross-react with your body, which is what autoimmune disease is? So they took tissue samples and they put them in what they call little wells. They're like little wells. They look like little Dixie cup wells. And they put samples of 55 different tissue types in these little wells. Then they dropped serum that had the anti-spike antibody on it and saw what the reaction was. And what they found was that the antibody cross-reacted with 28 different tissue types. One of the highest concentrations, one of the highest aggregations of where the antibody attached to was the mitochondria. The mitochondria are the inner lining of the mitochondria, to be exact. The mitochondria are little organelles inside of every muscle system in your body that they produce your chemistry, they produce your gasoline. and your body's gasoline is called ATP. So ATP is the gasoline that runs your body, and it's produced internally by the mitochondria. The antibody attack the mitochondria and make it not work correctly. And I believe, it's my opinion, that that's one of the reasons why one of the most profound side effects from after people have experienced that, after they've received one of these 3 approved shots, is profound fatigue. It's because you've just taken a handful of salt and you've thrown it in the engine of your car and you expect it to produce energy. It can't produce energy. In fact, the most common side effects that we see, even after the injection, are headaches and profound fatigue. And they know that this protein, and they believe the antibodies also, can cross the blood-brain barrier and get into the brain and attack at least 3, if not 4 different types of tissue types that were discovered by this group out of California who did the research.
Also, one of the things that we just found out about is for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, they're actually testing it on infants and pregnant women. How is it possible, or how is it legal to test it on a newborn when they can't give consent?
Well, that's a really, really good question. It would make you want to know how they approved any of the vaccines that are given to children under 6 months of age, because they can't give informed consent. When I started hearing that J&J wanted to now start testing this on newborns, I thought, why? The children under the age of 12 rarely, if ever, contract this infection. All of the death rate amongst children under the age of 12 is as close to 0 as it can possibly get. All of this nonsense that we have done, the destructive, psychological, emotional nonsense that we've done to children by masking them, separating them, keeping them from home, not allowing them to do any of the things that normal kids in grade school are supposed to do, growing these children up to not understand the subtleties of facial expression, to make them be fearful of people who don't have a mask, to make them to be, when they should be fearful of people who do have a mask, who might kidnap them. I mean, and now when they want to start trying to experiment with a completely experimental type of shot, never before done on human beings in general, now they want to do this on newborns. It's a crime against humanity. It's an absolute assault on children of God.
Wow. We only have a few minutes left. Susie, quickly, your question.
My question was, I know several people in my neighborhood and stuff who've got the vaccine. I've talked about those same side effects that you mentioned. And so, it's natural to just worry about them. What advice would you give to people who've got these vaccines and are now getting this information and they're scared? What would you say to them?
Well, it's a disturbing answer that you don't want to hear. With the types of things that this injection does, binding the spike protein to the surface of your cells, making an antibody, which means you're sensitized to that forever, through a process called transfection, binding spike protein to your cells. Once you've been vaccinated, it is the mark. You cannot become unvaccinated. A lot of the other vaccines, people want to know what they can do to detox from the mercury or the aluminum or the viruses. This is an irreversible thing. Once you have decided and made it an uninformed decision, I can't tell you how many people say, I don't even want to hear about it, just give me the shot. I want to be back convenienced. I want to be convenienced in my life. So you're exchanging a lifetime of probable illness, possibly even death, so you can be convenienced and get on an airplane and go to the store? People really need to know about this. I've done over 400 interviews in the last year about this. I haven't been quiet about it, and neither have a lot of other people. People really need to put their lives in God's hands and not in